Click the button.
Good morning. Welcome to FAWKES News. We are live on the YouTubes, but 99% of our listenership comes in the form of audio. So we ask that you leave us a 5-star rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you consume your podcast. If you are on the YouTubes, though, give us a subscribe and a like. Maybe leave a comment to help us in the algorithm. Let's jump into today's show. By the way, joining me will be Josh from Dead Leg Media and one more, and I'm out of here. It's Jason Kiefer. But today we are talking about the Alligator Alcatraz and what that means going forward for immigrants, the picture that paints for being an illegal immigrant, what people have to say about it. It's wild. And look, I just want to talk about it because I grew up in that area. I think it's going to be interesting. So just stick with me on that one. And then also we have this Trump-Elon feud that the media loves and needs. Then we have the, I don't want to listen, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to save it for a surprise for later. I want to talk about the big, beautiful bill. And then, of course, the big story, Wess Roley, the suspect identified in the Idaho shooting. Jason's a firefighter, so a lot of questions there that we want to talk about. Not really do any speculation, but just clear up some of the questions from a firefighter perspective. All this and more on today's FAWKES News, which is brought to you by factormeals.com/Wolfpack50OFF. By the way, it is 4th of July weekend, which is the slowest week for podcasts in general. We will not have a failure to stop episode this week because it lands on 4th of July, but we're going to keep today fun and flirty. It's going to be a lot of fun on today's show, so you don't want to miss it. Josh, Deadleg, and Jason, come on in here, boys. Good morning.
What's up? How are we?
Good. Good morning to you, Nijkin from across the pond in the live chats, Armory Knight in the live chat, Koseka Lofton in the live chats, Tyler S., and it goes up from there. Guys are filling up the live chats, and we really, really, really appreciate that. Share the show with everybody you know. Elijah K. is in the chats too. Appreciate it. Yes, fireworks are ready. Make sure that you give all of your friends a high five today and tomorrow, because it could be the last time that they have 5 fingers to actually high five. After the fireworks this weekend, you may be giving people a high 3, maybe a high 2. Yeah, the old missing index. I mean, who was the football player? You do a sports show. Wasn't there a football player that blew his hand off on 4th of July?
Oh, it was
had to wear a club on his hand.
Jason St. Pierre or something like that. St. Pierre Paul. Something like that.
Nobody is above getting their hands blown off on 4th of July. So everybody be careful. Alligator Alcatraz. Have you guys heard about this yet?
Oh my God.
Big news, actually. And I think it's a wild news. One, because it is a very tough on immigration policy type stance, but also when you have something that you relate to Alcatraz, there's a sense of lore. There is a dark, icky feeling. So it is a very bold move, and it definitely sets a tone going forward. Very bold move. And the placement of Alligator Alcatraz could not be better. Do you guys have thoughts on this at all?
Well, you being a Florida native,
yes,
you're right. It is the absolute perfect place because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yes,
surrounded.
Have you guys been there?
No, I have not.
Keep going.
I've been to Orlando, which seems like Alligator.
No, not even close. Keep going.
Kidding, but no, I love the idea. It's got like you said, the lore of Alcatraz, but it also has like a Sheriff Arpaio feel to it. So just put them in tents, whatever, the fenced cages. Yep. But what better place, and why are we just now getting it? That's my question.
Boy, Sheriff Arpaio, I've had him on the podcast a few years ago. I actually have his underwear, the pink underwear from Sheriff Arpaio's jail, prison, whatever you want to call it, work camp. But I have a pair of his pink underwear signed by him on my wall, which is great. There's a lot of, listen, Sheriff Arpaio was very old school, but he's a very old person too.
Right.
I would not have voted for him. He didn't win, but as what was it mayor or governor?
I think mayor. He ran for both. Like in his lifetime, I think he ran for both.
Yeah. He's too far the other direction for me. But I do appreciate the work camp sentiment, especially if people want that kind of discipline, which, of course, the Democrats and the mainstream media took that way. I feel like you need to be tough on crime. I think gang members need to have some shame in their life. They need to be embarrassed. I think children, actually, in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and schools need to be shamed and embarrassed sometimes. This goes with the Alligator Alcatraz, but I was talking to a school resource officer yesterday. And he was saying that, the school that he works at is in a very, I don't want to say it's like a high class area, but it's definitely not inner city area. And I asked him, I was like, so is that a pretty decent school for you to work at? And he said, because they are wanting to ship other kids in to give them the opportunity to be in a good school, it brings the school down. And right now, the big thing is getting Hispanic kids moved into nicer schools. And so he says, the problem I'm having right now is this huge uptick over the last year in selling of like hard drugs, like cocaine, and it's coming from these Hispanic kids. And he's like, I just resorted to saying, listen, like Trump's in office now and you're going to get your parents deported because I know your parents aren't legal. And I'm like, but so now this officer is a very dark-skinned black resource officer, and so he can get away with saying things like that. But then we got on this other conversation where he was talking about, I said, like, so you've got the Hispanics that are like, they're dealing drugs on campus. He goes, yeah. And I said, what other problems what problems outside of that did you normally have before that? And he was like, it's a predominantly white school. And he's like, these kids are gay. Like all of them are gay. He's like, even the ones that aren't gay are really gay. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, bro, they send themselves dick pics to each other all day long. And he's like, I'll walk by in the cafeteria and they won't see me walking by, and I'll look and I'll see the phone and I'll see like a big giant dick pic on it. And I'll be like, hey, what are you doing? And they'll be like, oh, and I'll be like, why do you have a dick pic? And they'll think it's funny. They're like, oh, so-and-so sent it to me from the locker room. And he's like, and I got to feel like I've got to deal with letting kids' parents know that they are sending dick pics back and forth and they don't think it's gay. They're just like, it's pretty funny. And he said, and then the parents, they don't really want to have, they don't like, they always side with their child. They're like, oh, well, that kid's a bad influence. That kid needs to stop sending my kid dick pics. But like the other side of the story is, well, that kid sends me dick pics too. And so like the parents aren't really doing anything to discipline them. So what he started doing was saying, he started calling them Diddy boys. And he says, you know what? They get really, really embarrassed and they get offended. And they're like, oh, officer so-and-so, I'm not a Diddy boy. That's fine. You can't call me a Diddy boy. And he's like, they get angry. And he's like, and I know it's working because now they're like, he's like, I've heard it towards the end of the school year. We're like, yo, Diddy boy's trying to send dick pics. And it's like, it really started this thing. And so and then he and I got in this conversation about like, we do need to bring shaming back. You should be ashamed of your sexual deviancies. Keep your kinks in the closet.
Like when you're a kid, the reason why you do things the right way is because you don't want to get in trouble from mom and dad. You don't want to get in trouble from your teachers. You don't want to get in trouble from your babysitter, your aunt, your uncle, whoever is like, there's something that you don't want to be held accountable for doing something bad. Not only that, when you are doing something bad, absolutely, that should be like, back in the day, we used to do public shamings. Yeah. I'm okay with bringing some sort of that back because either we all agree that some of this stuff is good for society and some of this stuff is bad for society, or we don't. And it's Mad Max season. So we have immigration laws or we don't. So I'm a big fan of this because the other thing is how can you make everybody mad? Well, you can save money. You're not building these walls. You're not having to build all of this stuff. You don't have to go out into the desert. You don't have to go out and find these other places. This place is geographically isolates itself. So it helps you save money on building materials and in the environment. You're using the environment.
You're like, it's less impact, less environmental impact.
And then when they escape, you're feeding them and it helps feed the environment and they're going to be there for the next generation. But not only that, there's a reason why you don't want to go there. Because
let me show you. Like, have you ever been to the Everglades?
no.
Okay. I'm born and raised in Florida. I am a Florida boy at heart. The old Florida, where it was all swamps. My grandparents lived in a condemned old abandoned hotel. They were homeless. My mom was raised homeless with 9 brothers and sisters. I'd love to write her book one day. I think it would be a fantastic read. Just a very dark comedy. Again, I think that's where I get my dark comedic style from. But we used to go there all the time to visit my grandparents. And we would sit on the porch and play cards because there wasn't like, they had an air conditioned wall unit, but it was so hot there that this little wall unit, and by the way, it was like a hotel, where you go out of one door and into the next door, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was abandoned. It was wooden and it was just overgrown, swampy. I wish there was pictures that I had of this place, but you would go in one door, which would be their bedroom. And then you could go out that door into the next bedroom, which would be the kitchen. And it's like they gutted and made like a makeshift kitchen, like no oven or stove in this thing. It was like, well, no, I do think they had like an oven or a stove in there somehow. But anyway, and then you'd go out the next door and that would be like the guest area. And then all the other rooms were just kind of overgrown. And sometimes like I would try to go explore these other rooms to see what was going on, but you could only go so far because there would be alligators like in the bushes, in the weeds, or massive snakes. I remember opening the door to one room and there just being a massive water moccasin chilling on the floor. And so my parents were really strict on us being there. My dad would actually bring our motorhome to him, like a big stick in the eye to my like homeless grandparents. Like, we're going to stay at your house in our nice motorhome. But they chose to live that way. My grandfather was a wild alcoholic, but they lived in the middle of nowhere in the Everglades. So there was really nowhere for him to get his vices. He would wake up every day and would start his morning off with a glass of gin with Pepto-Bismol in the gin. He would mix these two together. He would chug it, and then he would chug a Budweiser to like chase it down. And then he would drink Budweiser the rest of the day until he got, drunk and abusive and then passed out. But, yeah, like a real man, like a man's man. But my point is that I spent a lot of time in the Everglades and just cruising around there. And it is a vast desert. It is the hardest place on earth to survive. It has to be the hardest place. There is no cover from the sun. It's not like the jungle, which the jungle is like the second worst place to try to survive. Maybe Antarctica, maybe deep Alaska would be very difficult. But this you have, you could get lost in Alaska, and as long as you have all the gear to stay warm, you don't have to worry about every creature known to man trying to kill you too. So the Everglades, let me show you a picture of this Alligator Alcatraz. Now, as far as the eye can see, if you're on the YouTubes, as far as the eye can see, that is this right here. This is a closer view of what you're looking at. And what you're seeing right there is water and swamp for as far as the eye can see, like a vast desert, except there's nothing solid to walk on. This is thick mud that has this hiding all around it. Can you see the picture there?
Oh,
this little, that's a little alligator compared to Florida, but I mean, that will kill you very quick out there in the Everglades. So imagine you're walking through this, and every, 10 feet or so, there's one of these sitting around. Not only is there one of those, but it might be accompanied by one of these.
But fucking no probe.
A big, massive python, which I would rather have an encounter with, other than the other thing that's hiding out there that you'll never see coming are the water moccasins, which are extremely, extremely aggressive. So this is an actual picture of the current build out of Alligator Alcatraz, which is, very loosely modeled after a GWOT, Global War on Terrorism, forward operating base, where you do have buildings that don't take a whole lot to build. The insides of these things, though, however, are really a lot nicer. But again, you don't have to have these massive walls, these intrusive towers that you can see for miles. You really almost invite them to try to escape this place, because it's an impossible feat. You're not going to escape. It's too hot. There's no fresh water for you to drink. There's nothing for you to eat out there. Everything wants to eat you.
Well, to Dead Leg's point for giving back to the environment, just an option is if you have good behavior for 3 months straight, you get 3 gold stars.
Yep.
You're given the opportunity to go ahead and try. Here, the gate's open. Go ahead and go.
No, I wouldn't even put a gate there.
I'd punch somebody every fucking day that I was there so I wouldn't get put out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think you need a gate. I mean, except for the road in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, too. This is supposed to be just a temporary detention center for illegals as they're being processed out of the country.
Right,
So
they're not
it's
like that long.
It's not like this is like the Ritz in New York where they've been paying for hotels for the last
or that
couple of
Serbian
years.
is it not? It's not Serbian. It's the what's the Siberian prison in Russia where you're there forever,
or the one in El Salvador.
Yeah. Where you're stuck in the Siberian one. There was actually a true film made about that one. I can't remember what that movie was called, but these 4 guys that actually escaped. I think only one survived, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen the movie in 10 years, but really, really good movie. If you're into survival movies, but they escaped this Siberian, winter frozen wonderland. But the thing with Alligator Alcatraz, and you said the gate, is there's one road in, and conservative Anthony and I did a thing out in the Everglades. We did a series on a conspiracy theory podcast that we were working on back in the day. If you guys remember it, Night Shift, Top Secret Information. And we went all the way out to the Everglades to interview this guy who was the first person to ever see skunk ape, which is the Everglades version of Bigfoot. Now, spoiler alert, I don't believe in skunk ape. I think it was 100% a scam. And the guy that I met was, very overtly a scam artist, similar to a Tiger King type character. The guy didn't ever come out of character. Everything about him was a gimmick. So I don't believe in the skunk ape. But on the way out there, if you guys, any of you that follow Conservative Anthony or followed myself, we did a story, in our Instagram reels and stories as we were driving out there, because we were like, dude, if you broke down on our way to this skunk ape research facility, if you were to break down, it would be a survival effort until somebody came out there. We were on one road for a good 45 minutes and we saw not one other vehicle. And the road was as straight. It was straight on till morning. You couldn't see the end of the road. It was 106 degrees, 100% humidity, and absolute disgusting swamp on both sides where we could literally see alligators just sunbathing all the way out there. And I was like, if you broke down, let's say one gator got on the road and another one got behind you, where would you go? How would you even get, like, if there was like a Ghost and the Darkness type scenario with 2 alligators, there would be no escape.
Yeah, can't go left, can't go right, can't go forward, can't go back.
No, you're it is an unforgiving, ruthless place. Pedro Menendez, I think it was the explorer that when they first founded St. Augustine and they say on the East Coast, and they wanted to see if they could make it all the way across Florida to see what was on the other side. And the entire unit that was sent out never came back. They were lost, and people speculate that they, formed, that's where they got picked up by the Indians and they formed their own tribes, and that's why they were white. No, there's not a chance. Those dudes got out there and they were all eaten via mosquitoes, alligators, water moccasins, pythons. Probably didn't have pythons back then, but they had the Florida Panthers. Everything wants to eat you out there. There's nothing that doesn't want to eat you out there. So I think that those guys I think all those guys are just, they were all dead. And I think they were dead very quickly. They probably ran out of water, dysentery, malaria. I mean, all the things.
But the other thing is we have people that, we have these environmental rights, and all these people they're trying to stop this from happening. Okay. So the alternative is, where are we going to hold all these people? Because we go back to the root cause of this. You've just had the last couple of years of, we just opened the borders unchecked, and now we're checking and people have a problem with it. So either we have rules We have immigration policies. We have it or we don't. And if we don't, there's a lot of people that came here and done things the way we were supposed to. They're going to be really, really pissed off to find out that you could have just walked across the border and get given free stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does set something. Like I think you want something that has legend and lore, you know, like a Guantanamo Bay style feel to it, where it's like you don't want, you know, it's a good threat. Like, hey, listen, you're gonna go to Alligator Alcatraz when you get rolled up, and then you're gonna sit there, and that's gonna be super scary. And all the rumors and all the fairy tales and the what do they call the what do they call those stories that you? No, come on, like, you know, the ones where it's like the scratching of the door 4 times and you open it.
The myth.
They kill you. Yeah, you know, like kind of like a myth or whatever. Urban legends. You want all the urban legends. You want the urban legends. And that will deter you. I want to read this from the Naples Daily really quickly. And I think this is just so funny. And I'm going to tell you why here in just a second. Because it's coming from Naples Daily. By the way, if you're in Naples and you live in Naples and you want to complain about environmental, you live in Naples. Like, you have destroyed Naples, Florida, a beautiful, pristine, beach-going area that was gorgeous. It is destroyed by traffic, and houses and homeowners associations and city lifestyles have fucking ruined a beautiful person. I remember going to Naples as a kid, and you going through the middle of nowhere, driving through Stark and then through Gainesville and then down Alligator Alley, or, you know, one of the Alligator Alleys. There's a few in Florida. And you would, you know, I think you pass through Ocala and all these like slow moving towns. And then you wind up in this beautiful, pristine Naples that was just, it just didn't make sense. You were like, man, I just went through like the shithole, the armpit of the universe, Mars, basically. And now I'm at this beautiful, pristine Naples. I've been visiting Naples quite a bit lately because Conservative Anthony is a friend of mine. And it's just, to me, it's sad to see the state of what Naples looks like now. It is a full-blown touristy, city folk ruin everything, is my opinion. And it's just, they took the city and they brought it to Naples, and it's just a fucking touristy dump like the rest of Florida has become. And it's really sad. So the fact that anybody that's living in Naples is complaining about environment, like, you don't give a fuck about the environment because you live in an HOA, house on top of a house inside of fucking Naples. But let me read this to you. That's just my very dark, sinister Eric TANSEY. I don't hate you for doing it. I just think that you should shut the fuck up about the environment when you live in a place like that, because obviously, like, you're not an environmental person. You're not a person that's living out on the free range, living with a bunch of land, living the life of not having amenities right at your front door. Like, you're a person that appreciates the environment. City folk do not appreciate the environment like the country folk do. Not saying that's you're a bad person or anything like that, but like, I don't want to hear your opinion on the environment when you live that way. Like, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. If you got good pointers and tips on how to deal with traffic.
Sure. Yes. Or what's better, an Aldi versus a Lidl, or you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, right. Which like Great Clips is better? The Great Clips. Yeah.
How many pumps in my Starbucks?
Yes. You want to talk about like which is the best Starbucks? Like, those are all great things, right? Like, you know what I mean? But don't talk to me about let me read this. Shielded from passionate picketers and media feeding frenzy, President Donald Trump with hand-picked posse of politicos toured Alligator Alcatraz and found it good. Built in just 8 days, according to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the controversial migrant detention center has been a source of both fierce pride and equally fierce protests. The new facility sits atop an old one, the scuttled Everglades jetport, now rarely used training airstrip. As he chatted with DeSantis and the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, the president wondered if it could be replicated throughout the nation. Trump used that it could be a prototype for more such camps, though you don't always have land so beautiful and so secure with a lot of bodyguards and a lot of cops in the form of alligators that you don't have to pay them so much. I don't know that there's another place, by the way, except maybe Alaska. We'll talk about it in a second. Banded with more than 5 miles of barbed wire, the tent city type facility boasts 200 security cameras and will be staffed by 1,000 and guarded by 400 more. By the way, when I went to SEER school, the encampment that we were on, I was told had 700 security cameras. And when you graduate SEER, you get to see clips from each of these cameras to show you like what you did good and what you did bad because they're watching your every move. So I do believe that there's 700 cameras. So the fact that they only need 200, I think, is wildly hilarious. Trump was joined by a number of other officials, including Naples Congressman Byron Donalds, Florida Attorney General James Youthmeyer, Florida Division of Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie for an illegal immigration roundtable. Let me just scroll down here. Outside the perimeter, protesters continued a multi-day vigil against the facility, which was carved from the Big Cypress National Preserve and includes lands held sacred by the indigenous people of the Glades. By the way, that there was nothing cut out. It was all on an old airfield that's more or less abandoned.
Yeah.
So it was already been cut out. It was already there.
Reuse, recycle.
Yes. A coalition of environmental nonprofits who all live probably in Naples in a neighborhood where when they fart, their neighbor can smell it, has challenged the project in a suit filed in June. DeSantis has downplayed environmental concerns, saying he wouldn't set back the already significant progress on Everglades restoration. Listen, if you are taking your time out of the day to go protest this small, insignificant camp in the middle of the Everglades on an already cleared time, but you're not protesting the disgusting town that is Orlando and Kissimmee and Disney, who has just absolutely decimated the swamps and Indian lands, then go fuck yourself.
You can't get more environmental friendly than reusing something that was already there. And I want to point out that was rarely used for training before. So something that was not really used before. So you're not losing out on a use that was already there. You're not building into someplace new, destroying more Everglades. You're just reusing what's already there. And because it was a runway and you're putting tents up, you don't have to put up massive infrastructure. So this can go up in 8 days. And then you don't have to put all these crazy big walls and all this stuff around it because you have natural barriers. The reason why Alcatraz was so great, because it's on an island surrounded by water. The bay in San Francisco has some of the worst current, like the currents out there. Like there's a reason why you put it there.
And it's cold as shit.
So you put it in a spot like these Supermax prisons that we don't have them in downtown Los Angeles. You have them out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. So the odds of if you get out, okay, so now you get out, now you have to deal with all the environment to get back to the people that we're trying to protect from you in the first place.
Right.
How about these idiots that are there protesting that probably have blue hair, red hair, green hair? How about they go fill out a fucking job application and do something with their fucking lives? The majority of the voters voted for this. You're allowed to not like it, but the majority of voters voted for this. This is what they wanted.
My question is, if they're all there protesting Alligator Alcatraz, who's saving the sea turtles from plastic straws?
Yes, correct.
It's good. It's a very good question, Eric.
And who's making coffee at Starbucks?
Who's painting the sidewalks rainbows?
Mm-hmm. I love the virtue signaling tourists who come down to work with sea turtles because they see their first sea turtle and they fall in love with them and they think they're Floridians, and they travel down here and stay in their hotel that has all the lights that all the fucking sea turtles scurry to, and they go to all the restaurants and they enjoy all the amenities while virtue signaling that they actually care about sea turtles, when if you cared about the sea turtles, like you would seriously, like I am so disgusted by Florida. I grew up there and I just watched it. I lived in the swamps in the middle of nowhere, between the ocean, the intercoastal, and the river. And the only thing out there were alligators, snakes, manatees, and I grew up on the water, and it was a beautiful way to live. And we lived simple. There were no grocery stores within like 15 miles, you got your hair cut like once every so often. And that's when you like drove 45 minutes into town, and then like you would get a haircut. There was no going out to eat. The gas station, like you had to make sure you filled up gas before you got home, because there was no gas station within 6 or 7 miles. It was exactly 6 miles from my parents' home was a gas station, which was great. But after that gas station, there wasn't really much. So you always had to be careful that you had gas in all your things, because 6 miles is still kind of a pain in the ass when you're that young, especially you single family vehicle. So you're riding your bike to go get gas while dad's at work, so you can go mow the yard and stuff like that. But now it's turned into a giant city down there, and it's sad. And I took my kids down there to show them where I grew up. I couldn't find my house that I lived in for 19 years. I couldn't find it because of all the roundabouts, all the buildings. None of it made sense. That they put in bridges that weren't there before. It was wildly different, and it's sad, and it's disgusting, because that was, my stomping grounds, which was all trails and mud, and of course, living with the creatures and the animals that kind of turned me into the man that I am today, and that's gone. And now you have a bunch of spoiled rich city kids that literally have all the amenities right at their disposal. And where did all those alligators go? Where did all the deer go? Where did all the Florida panthers go? Where did all of the sea turtles go? Because you guys just keep fucking turning, you keep trying to turn Florida into a concrete jungle. And it's sad. And I think it's gross. They did the same thing to Hawaii. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I get it. We all want to go to Hawaii, but like, you have literally American people have just taken the land from Hawaii and fucked it all up. You know what I mean?
Resident expert sitting next to you.
Where? Oh yeah, because he lived in Hawaii. Yeah, but he was there for military reasons. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So
you got to see it firsthand, and you're absolutely correct. Yeah, with where'd everything go? They don't bitch about that, but they're going to bitch about this, and it's a perfect place to put them for the temporary period that, like you said earlier.
The reason why I'm so boisterous about hating on city folk is not that I hate city people. I really don't. But what I want people to realize is that city people keep moving out to rural country and then taking it over and making the city. You keep doing it. And I want you to stop. Like, let rural America stay rural America. If you're going to move to rural America, live rural American. Live without your hospitals. Live without your Starbucks. Live without all your amenities. That's the point.
Yeah, you move
out to the city and say, wow, it would be really great if you guys had some amenities. No. Fuck your amenities, dude. We don't want them here. Yeah. We don't want more of your government schools. We don't want. The reason why we live out here is because we want to be free of homeowners associations. We want to be free of all your bullshit. And we actually do care about all of the land around here. That's why we hunt it. That's why we hunt all the predators. That's why we keep our lands clear. We don't use the pesticides. We don't have the clean cut grass that your homeowners association makes us have, that you have to use pesticides and weed killers that then are, fucking up our birds and fucking up our fish. I love going to the city and seeing a pond and then making a joke about swimming in the pond. They'll be like, oh, you don't want to swim in that pond. Like, you should be embarrassed by that. Like, you should be embarrassed that you live in a place that you have water that's so disgusting that you cannot swim in it. And there are no alligators or snakes in it because you're too far north, but you still can't. Like, that should embarrass you as a human being. And so I don't hate people who live in the city. I am an advocate about, like, if you live in the city, stay there. We appreciate you there. We love you there. We'll come visit you, and you come visit us. But like, we're not going to we don't come to the city and bitch at you about all your trash and the homelessness and all the red lights and the traffic. Like, we'll be respectful of that, but like, don't come out to our place and then, complain about our lack of amenities. Like, we get it. You want them. We don't. That's okay. We want both different things in this world. I think that is wildly funny that people like Naples Times would be protesting something like that, knowing that they live a very city lifestyle, and they have a problem with an already cleared runway being used for something like this in the middle of the Everglades is widely hypocritical and funny to me.
Well, it's a win. It's a win for exactly what the rest of America wants is some law and order. It's a win for that. So you can't have that. You can't have a victory for law and order. We can't have it. We can't have law and order, because law and order means we've got things. There's discipline about things. We start holding people accountable for things. And then you've got politicians that can't like scum out of things. And they get held accountable for things. People don't want that. They don't want to shed the light on things, but it happens.
I think it's Greg Lamontagne says, ask Eric about the flags. Greg and them are from Texas. They came and stayed for about 4 days in my hometown, and they've seen how even while we were driving, they were like, what are they doing with these roads? And I was like, dude, even 1 year ago, none of that was happening. Like, it's wild how much they've fucked this place up in 1 year that I live in. That's why I'm extremely passionate, because I got kicked out of Florida in my country lifestyle in Florida, had to move to the country of North Carolina, live on 3 acres, tucked away, nestled away in the middle of nowhere, bought a house that was already pre-existing. And now I'm being surrounded. They're buying up all the farmland, and they're building these HOA neighborhoods and all these things all around me. And now they're putting in a Popeyes and an Outback Steakhouse, while screaming that they support local business. But meanwhile, local businesses have all of the hoops to jump through to get their local businesses open, while they build a Popeyes and an Outback in less than 4 or 5 weeks. It's absolutely disgusting what's going on here. And yes, the city folks, because I do stand-up comedy in a lot of cities, I think it's a funny observation that city folks have to let you know exactly what side of the fence they're on and what all of their virtues are. So in Orlando, every business has like a gay flag and a banner that says we support black people and we love black people and all are welcome here. And you can knock on our doors anytime. And it's every single business has the same placard and flag and kind of mantra about them as you go. In the country, we don't have to have a sign or a flag to let you know that we're not racist. Like in the country, we just assume you're not racist unless you do have a flag that shows that you are a racist. And then which is great, because you're like, oh, that person has, a flag or some markers and indicators that show that he is in fact racist. If you don't have a banner or anything out, you're good. Like you're good. You're fine. So I think it's funny that in the city, every single person has to let you know that they're not a racist. And in the country, you just assume everybody's not a racist unless they show you otherwise. So I think that's cute. We do have a lot of other things to jump into today before we do factormeals.com. Summer is here. 4th of July is right around the corner. We're going to watch Joey Chestnut guzzle glizzies in just a couple of days. So if you were trying to lose weight so that you could shamelessly eat hot dogs, well, the time has passed. But guess what? New beginnings, right? A new year. It's halfway through the year. Maybe you fucked up on your New Year's resolution. I don't know. But after July 4th, come Monday, what a great time to get back into the groove and finish out the last half of the year strong. Meal planning to the next level. I'm talking about factor75.com, promo code Wolfpack50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. You can plan out your meals 7 days a week, plus all the snacks and accoutrements that go with them. We're talking about the shakes and the snacks, but you can plan your meals out, whether it's protein heavy, calorie conscious, even keto friendly meals that are chef prepared, fresh and never frozen, delivered right to your door. You get to pick from their tons, 10, 20s, 30s of menu items every week. And you can plan them out, and you can really get back in shape that you want to easily. You don't have to worry about leaving the pool early on Sunday to go grocery shopping and again get your Pyrex, your Pytex dishes, get all the lids and everything, and try to figure it out. And then cook your shrimp, and then cook your pork, and then cook your rice and your beans. You don't have to do any of that. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your holiday 4th of July weekend. Go to factormeals.com/Wolfpack50OFF and start your meal planning now. And some Monday or Tuesday, you will have your meals delivered right to your door, and your meal prep and planning is over. It's done with. It's kaputskis. Go to factormeals.com, promo code Wolfpack50OFF. That's promo code Wolfpack50OFF for 50% off plus free shipping. Head over to factormeals.com/Wolfpack50OFF for 50% off plus free shipping. All right. Next on the docket, we have this strange this is news that they don't want to tell you about. And it's not conspiracy theory news. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson's interview with RFK Jr. Now, I know you're like, hold on. I hate Tucker Carlson because mainstream media told me to. And I hate RFK Jr. because mainstream media told me to. But I don't really know why I hate RFK Jr. You might have reasons why you don't like Tucker Carlson, be it his voice, his cackle, his laugh, his hyena laugh. I get that. That's fine. I understand. But you can't give, maybe you don't like RFK Jr. He talks and he's out of breath, which I think is disgusting because, again, it goes back to that whole virtue signal thing where it's like, we're not going to make fun of people because of their speech impediments or things like that, unless they're conservative. And then it's, free fire zone here. But you don't really know why you started hating RFK Jr. aside that the media told you that you should not like him. It's really funny that you can't find somebody that can give you clear-cut, concise reasons why they hate RFK Jr. But in this interview, which I'm not going to use the interview as a source because I know so many people hate RFK Jr. and they hate Tucker Carlson. So you're not going to believe anything they say in the interview anyway. So let's just forego the interview. Let's not even talk about the interview. And let's go straight to the National Health Institution, the NIH.gov. All right. Can you bring that up for me? Is that possible to bring up the NIH.gov?
I'm trying to find where the tab is.
I believe I sent it to you in the private chat. While you bring it up, I'll just go ahead and read it. Universal hepatitis B vaccination was recommended for U.S. newborns in 1991. However, safety findings are mixed. The association between hepatitis B vaccination of male neonates, that means males like neonatal, prenatal, and parental report of autism diagnosis was determined. This cross-sectional study used weighted probability samples obtained from National Health Interview survey from 1997 to 2002 data sets. Vaccination status was determined from the vaccination record. Logistic regression was used to estimate the odds for autism diagnoses associated with neonatal hepatitis B vaccination among boys ages 3 to 17 years, born before 1999, adjusted for race, maternal education, and two per parent household. Boys vaccinated as neonates had threefold greater odds for autism diagnosis compared to boys never vaccinated or vaccinated after the first month of life.
You're just speaking out your ass here, Eric. That's definitely not right from the NIH study.
Findings suggest that U.S. male neonates vaccinated with the hepatitis B vaccine prior to 1999 from vaccination records had a threefold higher risk for parental report of autism diagnosis compared to boys not vaccinated as neonates during that same time period.
Some would call that a cause
last
and effect.
sentence, non-white boys bore an even greater risk.
Weird.
What?
Mhm.
You can't
So-
speak right from the study, Eric.
Exactly.
Conspiracy theorists win again. The fact that you folks are out there blindly following a vaccine schedule and then trying to debate with me, a person who has home birthed his children. I have 5 children. We home birth, homeschool, homeopathic, very little doctor intervention with their children. You think that I would make this? You have all the things that I do. By the way, humble brag, every single day. Somebody comes up and tells me how nice and polite my kids are. Yesterday at the pool, a woman came by and she said, "Are you the long-haired kids' parents?" I said, "Yes." She had a very caring look to her. I was afraid what she was going to say next. She said, "Your son came over and asked to carry my grocery bag over to the table." That has never happened to me. I've never had a young man ask me to do that. Another man in Savannah said, "Are those your boys with the long hair?" He said, "I first want to apologize because I refer to them as females. Then your son told me that he was a boy, stuck his hand out and said, 'My name is Duke. What's your name?' And he shook my hand, looked me in the eyes like a man. And he said, I was ashamed and embarrassed of all the prejudgments I had seeing this kid with long hair dressed the way he did, and I want to apologize. I didn't ask this guy in Savannah, Georgia that I don't fucking know to come say that kind of shit to me. I don't give a fuck. You can have whatever. So, I say all that to say, Craig Lamontagne says he can confirm this. I say all that to say, I hate when these folks try to have an argument with me about the whole vaccine schedule as if I didn't do, my kids are the most important thing to me in the whole world, other than my wife. But my wife and I have agreed that if it came between rescuing the kids over her or I, we would pick the kids. We're both in, we're both in agreement on that. We don't make any decision lightly with our children. We think and maybe overthink. My wife and I have meetings, closed door, bedroom meetings on decisions that we play devil's advocate with each other. We put out the pros and cons list. We look at the long term. I like it when people say that Donald Trump plays 4D chess. I don't say that I play 4D chess as a parent because I'm not very good at chess. I'm not that smart. But we play a what if scenario and we war game the decisions that we make. To the point of sponsorship deals for our kids. Stickers that we allow our kids to put on their skateboards, music that we allow our kids, and then we literally look at it like, do we take this Eminem CD away from our kids because it's wildly inappropriate, most of the songs? Do we explain the inappropriateness? Do we have a time frame that we say, when you turn this age, we will explain these things to you, and then you can listen to this music? Do we give them the CD, but tell them that they're not allowed to listen to track? And then we talk about it, and we try to figure out what the best solution is. And that's just one CD. Now, we do this in every aspect of our children's lives. So for us not to get vaccines, or certain vaccines, came with an amazing amount of, you have to take your ego and your politics out because it's your kid's life. At the end of the day, nature doesn't care about how you feel. Doesn't care about how you feel about the facts. Now, maybe you are a conservative and you want to think vaccines are bad. Well, nature doesn't care. And hepatitis doesn't care that you felt a certain way, or polio doesn't care that you felt a certain way about vaccines, and will still attack your children. It's knowing and understanding, and then having a non-egotistical, selfless assessment of the decision you're about to make, and then you make that. And then what that happens to look like for us is, here's where polio comes from. Here's where it started. Here's how it ended. Here's where malaria comes from. Here's how it started. Here's how it ended. Here's hepatitis B. Here's gonorrhea. Here's a lot of these vaccines that you're getting. Here's how they started and where they came from. Now, do we either A, want to avoid those things at all costs with our children and figure out a way that these are untouchable to them, or would it be safer to say, let's get the vaccine, even though there's a small chance of these side effects, but the chances of them coming in contact with malaria or gonorrhea or whatever, and then you make that decision and you pick your vaccines accordingly. That is how we have done it. So when people call us an anti-vaxxer, I feel like that's wrong, because I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm anti a lot of vaccines. Sunscreen's the same way.
You're selective.
It's like, I'm not anti-sunscreen, but I think that you're putting cheap ass 50 SPF, all the ingredients, the size of a cereal box, condensed into one little package of goop that you're going to put onto your skin to block out the sun's rays, while all these chemicals are literally clogging up your pores and have nowhere to go but to leach inside of your body and to get into your bloodstream for 4 months out of the year, I think is wildly retarded. And, when you get cancer and then you blame it on sun care, and then you try to, try to tell people who've lived in the sun with no sunscreen forever and don't have recorded histories of melanoma and sun cancer and some of these islands, and you don't take a look at that, like, I think you are generally retarded. Like, I look at you like you're a fucking moron. So you be wise about the effects. That means you have to study the causes of melanoma from perspectives outside of big pharma or your doctor, who won't be able to explain to you what kind of, or, I think that's funny, is that they can't recommend you certain sunscreens, to be very vague, but they can recommend you a fucking list of antidepressants, rattle those things off real fucking quick.
Yeah.
I can help sum it up pretty easily, Eric. You are what they call in the field an active parent. You're active in your children's lives. You have what they call communication and your relationship with your spouse, and you guys both actively work together to make positive decisions for your children's future. And anybody that's on the outside of that thinks that they have a say in that, here's this one and this one. They're not your kids.
Sit on them, bitch.
Just
spin.
Because you're gaslighting someone for saying, hey, I don't want to get this because it might do something harmful to my kid. Gaslighting them for being a good parent. Okay. So what's the difference between trying to save your kid from, the shot that might have adverse effects versus, hey, put a helmet on before you ride your bike down the hill, because if you crash and your head gets splattered all over everything, we don't have it tomorrow. What's the difference? What is different? There's no difference to me. You were trying to look out for the best future for your kid. And for anybody to try to gaslight that, not allowed. Come back around.
Yeah, I'm not the one that invites your child to my house and then tries to feed your kid healthy stuff. Like, I'm not forcing your kid to eat healthy stuff. But why is it that everybody that invites my kids over, my kids will come home, and this was a conversation we had the other day, that one of their friends, the parents, was actually trying to get them to try a Mountain Dew for the first time. My kids have never had a real Mountain Dew, or the Mountain Dew Code Red skis or anything like that. We don't do Mountain Dew. We don't do sodas in general, but if we do allow them to have a Coke or a soda, which is, for a movie night, or if we're going to the theater, going out to eat or something silly like that, we usually try to do like the Mexican Cokes with the real sugar, stuff like that. But like, our kids don't drink energy drinks or Mountain Dews. Now that's fine. Like, you let your kid do. I'm not judging you. I don't give a fuck what you do with your kid. But I don't make your kid try our healthy shit. My son just came home the other day, and they said that there was a parent that literally was like, don't worry, your parents will be fine. It's like, you don't have to ask for permission for everything. Just have a Mountain Dew. You see what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's wildly inappropriate.
Absolutely.
Why, like, it doesn't hurt my kid to not have Mountain Dew. By the way, my kids they live an amazing life, and they're not sheltered or hidden from the real world at all. They trick or treat. They do candies. They do all the things that normal kids do. We just do it within reason, where it's like, your fucking kid can go and have candy out of the candy jar whenever it wants, or whenever you go to the grocery store, it's assumed that they get a candy or a liquor doodle or a high sugared cereal. Our kids get it on a special occasion, which makes it special to them.
So you're saying, like, at the end of all those alcohol advertisements or the casino or the gambling and a lottery, drink responsibly, gamble responsibly, be an adult responsibly, be a responsible adult, be a responsible parent responsibly.
Right, but I just think it's so, I think it's so wildly ridiculous and inappropriate that people feel the need that they need to tempt my children into doing things or playing video games or doing these things. But like, the way I'm parenting my children, like, most children can't tell you the first time they had their first fudge round. My 12-year-old will tell you the first time he had a fudge round, and he'll tell you the whole experience around the fudge round, and he'll tell you how much he appreciates a good fudge round. I think that is much more special than a kid who eats fudge rounds and it's just another day in the life of his fucking life. My kids look forward to having a fudge round. Your fat fucking kid, that's just part of his everyday fucking life. Why do you want my kid to be like that? I don't want my kid. I don't make your kid come over here and trick him into eating cow tongue or eating liver or gizzards or, nutrient sources. I don't force that upon them. I don't try to trick them into those kinds of things.
Well, the adult thing would be to check with you guys. Hey, what are your ground rules for your children?
Right.
And then you fit that into that experience, that sleepover, that birthday party, whatever.
Which is why I don't let my kids go off with these sleepovers, because I think these parents are fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can come over. We'll let you stay up as late as you want, as if that's a really good thing. So you're going to invite my kid over to stay up till 3:00 in the morning, and that on a Friday night, which means his Saturday is going to be miserable. And then Sunday, we do our Sunday routine for half the day, whether it's going to church or doing whatever he does. And so you've basically given him like 6 hours of time that he has to stay indoors and play video games and eat shitty food. And now he's got shits and he's, you know what I mean? Like stomach ache or whatever problems and ailments kids have, you know what I mean? Like, and you've ruined their entire day because you let them stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning, or here's a better idea. How about you put them to bed at a reasonable time, like maybe 11 p.m., where you kind of like meet in the middle and they have 1 or 2 lickies and chewies and some popcorn. And then you wake up at a reasonable time and go to the pool or go skateboarding or do something awesome before the fucking heat of the day when they wake up and they don't want to go out. You get what I'm saying? Like, your way is not better. Your way is a lifestyle of self-destruction. Just because your drinking habits, because all the habits that you picked up in your elder life that hurt you and harm you, it doesn't make it better for a kid to live that way. And I don't understand this mindset of like, I'm going to be the cool parent by making my kid fat and my kid fucking tired all the time. And, you know, you wonder why your kids have to have melatonin, and you wonder why your kids have to have Ritalin and all these other things, because they have no cycle. They have no discipline, and all the fucking junk that you've put in their body has wildly confused their very early, young, fickle minds and brains. And they have anxieties and depressions. Well, guess what? I have 5 kids. Not one of them has any fucking anxiety, depression, and none of them are any meds. And it has nothing to do with my genes or my genetics. My mom, again, was raised homeless with 9 brothers and sisters. They all died of diabetes. My mother-in-law's, my wife's side of the family all had wild problems of depression and anxiety. What it has to do with is that we have literally limited the causes of those things, which is a poor diet and over medication and too much doctor influence. You know, when you have anxiety for a baby, you got me on a rant, boys.
Really?
When I ran track, before my meets, I would hyperventilate. I wouldn't be able to stop yawning. The yawning would become contagious. I dealt with this for like 3 years of my life in track and field. And then I would yawn. And I couldn't get over the nervous yawn. I couldn't catch my breath. And I was afraid that I would pass out when I ran because I had no oxygen. I couldn't get oxygen. And I would tell people this, like, I can't stop yawning. People would notice it. It was embarrassing. And then people would start to laugh, and it was really bad for me. Matter of fact, when I went to airborne school, I was afraid. I was so afraid of those anxieties coming back that they did come back for airborne school. But here's the difference. I was offered medications. My parents at the time were very weird about what medications they wanted me to be on. We'd already gone through that. I don't do medications. I didn't do Ritalin. Another story for another time. Most of you guys have already heard the story, but I, again, was like, I'm not taking any medications to fix this. I need to fix this on my own and get over it. And then my dad said, well, pass out while you run then. If you don't want to medicate yourself, you don't want to fix it, stop complaining about it, and you'll just pass out while you run, and you'll start breathing again. You'll be fine. And I was like, oh my, I know you're being like very harsh right now, but like also that's very true. So what's the big deal? Why am I so worried about this? I'll just fucking run until I pass out. Guess who never passed out? Guess who made it to regionals and placed? Guess who went to airborne school and didn't have one single anxiety attack while he was there? Because I learned to overcome that anxiety. I learned a way to win with my own brain. Mm-hmm. I was able to mentally, and so I'm mentally tougher to this day. I don't have any anxiety. Guess who doesn't have PTSD from all the dead people that he's seen? And all the traumatic shit he's come in, because I've trained my mind to be strong. I'll just pass out. I'll get over it. Now, that's not for all cases. There's some traumatic incidents that didn't happen in my life that could have happened in other people's life. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that just falling back to the easy way. Oh, I'm tired. Let me just overdose on caffeine leads to a life of always needing caffeine at a certain time of day in a certain era. And if you don't, you're grumpy or whatever. Why start that at a younger age? Why push that onto your children? I'm not able to sleep in a very young age, so let's give our kids something to help them. Instead of working with them and tirelessly trying to figure out what it is that they're eating or consuming or that they're doing that they can't sleep, instead we'll just medicate them and we'll keep on with that diet. which is also going to conflict with the falling asleep, which is going to lead to them needing an upper. And so then you're trying to get uppers involved in their life. And now they've got downers and uppers in their system.
Well, the body's physiology is an amazing thing. It's natural physiology. It learns to repair itself. It learns to fix itself. You just can't inhibit that.
Right. And so every time we get this nick, the doctors have convinced you that you have to have stitches because bacteria could get in. Well, the chances of bacteria getting in, if you're being careful, are slim to none. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You don't have to go get stitches every time you bump your head. You don't have to, remember when they told you as a kid that you can't swim 15 minutes after you eat? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's, a lot of these things need to be questioned. And there's answers to all of these. I'm not saying just, disregard all the rules and doctors and sciences, but you should look for other ways to deal with your own problems. Just because you have the sniffles doesn't mean you need an antibiotic that kills all the probiotics in your body and makes you dependent on that. And then your body doesn't. Sometimes you need to break a fever. Sometimes you need to go through that and your body will be stronger on the other side. We over-vaccinate, we over-medicate, and we overdo things, in my opinion. But regardless of what my opinion is, don't invite my children into your house or have the thing and try to tell me that I'm doing things wrong when you have a fat fucking child that is grossly annoying and has no manners. Hate to be blunt, but I deal with it on a daily basis. Now, I applaud all the parents. If my kid's hanging out with your kid on a daily basis, you're doing the right thing, because I wouldn't let my kid hang around somebody that's a fucking squash. So to all those parents, if you listen to this, my kid hangs out. If you're one of those parents that I always have an excuse of why my kid can't hang out with your kid,
you're the problem.
Not that I don't like your kids. I probably don't like the way that you parent your kids, and I don't want my kids caught up in that bullshit. All right, I know we got a lot to get through, so let's keep going. Wess Roley, the suspect involved in this fire shooting. I think this is one of the saddest stories. If you haven't heard the audio from it yet, let me just play it for you and then we'll talk about it.
Central BC 5, Central BC 5. BC 5 up 6. Send law enforcement right now. There's an active shooter zone. They're shot. BC 3's down. BC 1's down. Everybody's shot up here. Law enforcement, code 3 now up here. 551, 10 or 14. Up here. Stop. Get out of the way. 10 or 14. Engine push 551. Do not come up here. 51 copies. Remaining staging. Central from 551. 551. You get an ETA on life flight, please. What? You're busy. You see what life flight has to offer and go and get started. Also, if you can do enact the MCI for the county, please. Sorry, I couldn't copy. I was copying BC. Is at the upper parking lot. Is at the upper parking lot. Up on the dirt parking lot. We need law enforcement up here immediately. Law enforcement up here immediately. Copy, upper parking lot. Immediately out, law enforcement. Go. Another Coeur Lane firefighter down. Needs help immediately. We need law enforcement immediately. I copy, another firefighter down. Continuing law enforcement. I copy. 2 Battalion Chiefs. 1 off. 1 firefighter down.
Engineer to Golf, I am down. Both Battalion Chiefs are responsible. Engineer to Golf down.
I copy, you can't move. Go to location exactly. We're all at the upper parking lot. Please, law enforcement, as soon as possible, get law enforcement up to the upper parking lot, the dirt parking lot.
I'm not having any response from the 2 Battalion Chiefs. They're above me inside the rig. I need help. I don't see anybody around type of.
Okay, just find vehicle. Then immediately up here, we've got 2 unresponsive battalion chiefs, gunshot wounds, multiple gunshot wounds. 2 Coeur Lane firefighters are down. I thought there are 2 unresponsive battalion chiefs. Law enforcement getting as quickly as they can. Law enforcement get up here. We could possibly get the 2 wounded out. I'm pinned down behind Battalion 1's rig. It's clear to me that this fire was set intentionally to draw us in. I copy. Do you want life flight to launch? 100% sure where it would land. I think they need to be prepared to launch. Other side to launch. Go 107. Start dispatching 4 ambulances.
Wow. So, I mean, just extreme panic. If that doesn't get your anxiety up, it's a good thing. Anxiety is a good thing. You should have anxiety over listening to that. It should make you cold and clammy and give you chills and do all the things. What an emotional, insane response. As a firefighter, where's your mindset? Where's your head at with all this, Jason?
Well, first off, I mean, the guy that you heard most, we need law enforcement. We need law enforcement. Super calm, very clear, concise. I mean, he's telling them exactly where they need to go or where they're at, where they're pinned down. So excellent radio etiquette in a situation that I'm not sure that I'd be that calm, but that was comforting to hear in the fact that he's trying to take care of his brothers. But it's just I don't deal wildland fires, so I don't know what their complement was. I don't know how many people they send, but the fact that it seemed very evident to that guy that it was intentionally set and they were drawn in. That's the scary part, man. And I know we go back and forth, cops and firemen. Firemen are the second responders and all that bullshit. But I mean, there's a reason for us staging till a scene's secure. But I mean, going into something like that, why would you think that would probably be a run of the mill run for them? But it's just it's unfortunate. You never hear of firemen typically getting shot at or killed. When we hear cops, that's kind of expected. It's still shitty, but it's kind of expected. But when I saw this, I was like, holy cow. Trying to figure out why, the whys, the whos, all that stuff. And, it always takes a couple days for all that stuff to roll out. But those guys went to work not expecting to get shot at.
Let me ask you this. What's your opinion now? Like, where do we go from here as far as firefighters, firefighting going in the future? Are we carrying guns now as firefighters? Do you think there's a problem with concealed carry permitted firefighters and EMT workers? I mean, you trust EMTs. My opinion on it quickly, I want to hear yours because yours is more important than mine. But my mindset is like, you trust these guys with crazy amounts of narcotics and you let them drive multi-million-dollar rigs and things like that, but you can't trust them with a firearm?
I'm in complete agreement. And in our area, there was a talk for a very minute minute at a time, about letting, if you had a concealed carry permit, when you had to have one here in Ohio, to allow you to carry. And then it quickly went away. It got bashed down. But I'm in agreement. I mean, at least let one person on that crew be carrying, so that way, because there's plenty of times where we're on scenes where we don't have police officers. They're busy on other details or whatever. And, where I work is a lower demographic, mostly African-American area. I respond to shootings quite often, and I've got nothing to protect myself or my crew. And I'm a lieutenant on my crew. I can't protect my people. So I think that's crazy, because there's been plenty of times where I've been doing CPR in the street and I hear, the whizzes going past me. And it's like, let's scoop them up. Let's go. We'll do it in the ambulance down the street. Just, get the hell out of here. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the right answer is. I like that answer. I think that's a step in the right direction.
What's your opinion on it, Josh? Because you've worked in first responder field for much of your life.
Because there was a big pushback a couple of years ago when firefighters and EMTs wanted to be able to wear ballistic vests, to be able to have just protection, not to be able to defend themselves, to just have some protection. And there was pushback from that. I would say there's zero pushback from that from now on. That becomes a standard issue. And I don't know that you have to wear it to every call, but if you feel the need that you want to wear it to every call, wear it to every call. It should be made available to you. The other side of it is if you have the concealed carry permit, you can either let them do that, let the firefighters and EMTs carry to defend themselves, or you send police on every one of those runs. And guess what that does? That's more money, that's more services, that's more resources that get tied up dealing with something that they don't necessarily have to have all those resources out there for. because there was a fire for this one, but this was an ambush. This was something to set up to murder people. We don't have to go to every fire alarm thinking that that's an ambush. That's a hard thing to try to go. It's one thing for cops, like you said, it's kind of expected. But for firefighters to go, you guys get shirtless in calendars. You guys save kittens from trees. Like, you guys have like the pretty, like the hose and the water down. Like, that's what firefighters known for. They're not known for like taking rounds. And like the way that he was communicating on the radio of, hey, I'm actively taking shots, but he's still controlling the scene, telling, stage down there, don't come up here. I need law enforcement up here. I need people up here, but I need people with guns up here. Yeah. Nobody else come up here. Like, I would either say, one, there's zero question. If you want to wear a vest, you can wear a vest. And the agencies become something that becomes available to it. And guess what? That's another thing that taxpayers are going to have to pay for.
Well, and real quick with your vest thing. I mean, these guys are responding to a fire.
A fire.
That's what they got dispatched to. They're not putting a ballistic vest on. And granted, it's wildland, so it's different than structural firefighting, where our gear is a little bit different. But they're not putting a vest on before they put their wildland coat on. It's just
not going to happen. But I mean, like, go to Sheepdog Holsters. Go to Sheepdog Holsters really fast. This check rig though, like, imagine if the battalion commander, who's not even putting on the outfit, what if he was strapped up with a Sheepdog Holsters fully custom chest rig, like the one that we have right here? Go to the chest rig. Yeah, blow one of those up. Bam! Look at this bad boy from Sheepdog Holsters. They will customize this any way you want. And for any gun that you want, this is owned and operated by a law enforcement officer. Go to some of the custom holsters, will you? I love this. Go to some of the custom holsters. Like, let's go. Imagine your fire department. Like, oh, that's a little pink plaid, but you could have your, like, go to some of the more like
salmon,
custom,
salmon, not pink.
Like you could get right there. Like, you could get your departmental, your fire department logo stamped on the holster. That one's got some helicopters on it. What's that red one? Oh, let's see here. Desert camo pattern. What's that one right there? Trump all over it. Oh no, that's Deadpool.
Deadpool riding a unicorn.
Dude, love me some Sheepdog holsters. I own 2 of them for 2 of my guns. So, but the chest rig, your battalion commander shows up with this little chest rig on. It's like one of these right here, man. It sets the tone, right? It sets the tone. Well, these are, by the way, somebody will be like, well, what are these good for? When I worked search and rescue for Hurricane Helene, it was really crazy because everybody carried firearms, because we've got bears up there that are a problem. You got nuisance animals, dogs running around all over the place. Plus you got looters and stuff like that. But the chest rig did make it very easy because I did not wear a chest rig. I wore mine on my hip, but you're carrying stuff and you're in the water. This keeps your gun a little bit higher. But my buddy Blake Reynolds, he carries his 410 shotgun pistol, the Judge.
Oh yeah,
the Taurus Judge. He carries it in his chest rig for hunting. It's his snake gun, so he carries it up on his chest. So when he's out there with his rifle, he can whip this thing out. But it is much easier to climb things and do things when you've got when you've got a plus, sitting down in tree stand and having a gun jab into the your fucking muffin top, or you're trying to bend over and pick shit up and do stuff. Like, having a concealed carry tucked in your hip is not the most comfortable thing when you're really active, like if you're into logging, like somebody said, or agriculture. Sometimes it is easier just to throw a chest rig on and do work. But I wasn't meaning to do a plug for Sheepdog holsters, and they don't pay for advertising on here. This is just generally part of my entertainment value for you today. Wasn't planning on even bringing it up, but head over to Sheepdog Holsters and grab a holster if you. Yeah, there it is. That's the one he made. That's the one he made for my boy Blake. Really cool. Such a good. I would like that while I'm mowing, because I see snakes every time I mow my yards. It'd be cool to be able to pull that thing out of my holster. I have a snapper, like the old Tom Hanks Forrest Gump snapper, and I have a holster on it. It's really funny. But anyway, so we got that.
Even as a deterrent, give one person the chest rig with. You don't have to pull it, because a lot of times just people seeing it, puts that, oh, I'm going to fuck these guys. Oh, wait, no, Never mind. No,
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. All right, let's get into the big beautiful bill before we get out of here. Basically, the Senate approved the landmark One Big Beautiful Bill. What you kind of need to know is that under the law, there's changes to income tax, income level, the tax brackets. They've lowered the tax rates in a lot of places. The standard deductions and family tax credits where itemized deductions are reduced, which is cool for me because I have a big family. May not be good for you. It is probably going to hit people on Medicaid. It's going to hurt Medicaid, Social Security, probably not the best. I was going to go into this a little bit deeper today, and I'm sorry that I didn't. But there are some things in the bill that I like. I like the immigration, how that this bill allows for more money for immigration. I like that the tax bracket for families, for people who have families, I think that's better. Anytime that you're going to try to give back to stimulate the economy, you have to take away from somebody else. And so I think what's important to know about this bill is that it is going to be great for a lot of people and it's going to suck for some people. But that's life. Like, there's no way they were going to make a bill that was going to fit everybody's needs. There's a lot of hyperbolic statements from the media. I would encourage you to look at some of the benefits that you are going to get, that you can then in turn use to buy insurances. More money to buy insurance if you're a medically prone person, you have pre-existing issues and things like that. But it does suck, especially in North Carolina, for people on Medicaid and things like that. I also didn't like some of the gun stuff that came out in the bill. I was hoping that they would, the short barrel rifles and stuff like that. I thought that we should be a little bit more, like, I thought we were going to get some better breaks on that, where you were going to be able to travel across state lines without having to notify the ATF and, a lot of those things. Also, a thing that didn't happen in the bill that I really wanted to happen in the bill was tax-free time and a half overtime pay and tips, and we didn't get that out of the bill. But the bill does stimulate the economy. And I do understand the way that you have to put money into people's pockets and you have to give them a break for them to get the trade deficit. I mean,
kick the economy back, get back in motion again.
Well, Jesus Christ, I'm reading. I'm getting caught off like NFA is gay and ATF is gay. I'm getting caught up in all the comments that I'm losing sight of what I'm supposed to be talking about here. But the deficit, it doesn't help out the deficit that we have. Our big giant credit card bill that the trillions of dollars that America owes or whatever. But I see how it stimulates the economy, and Trump's always been about having a better economy. And I think to get your approval ratings higher, you have to have a presidency that is economy focused, and current economy, getting gas prices down, getting more, like, people paying less taxes, getting your grocery bill down. I think, and people will remember you more by that than if you were just going a hardline stance on the deficit and getting that down. But yet my quality of life goes down. So I think you can't have it all. And I think with this bill, I think there's a lot of things in this bill to praise, and I think there's a lot of this bill that sucks. But I would be very careful as to say it's the greatest bill of all time. But I also wouldn't say it's the worst bill that I've ever seen passed either, not by a long shot. I think there's a lot of good here that comes out for the American people. Unfortunately, some people aren't going to get what's due for them. But the media is doing a great job of cherry picking. I had all this lined up, but if I get into it now, this will go on for another hour. So maybe we'll save it for another time. I would say this, before you listen to Fox News and CNN and you think that the greatest bill of all time, I think that you should do a quick Google overview on this bill and what this bill means, so that you can see what it means for exactly you. And a lot of you, the majority of you, are going to be like, hell yeah, there's a lot of kickbacks. Unfortunately, for some, and I do say unfortunately because I do empathize with where you're at now. If you're like, man, this is not going to make my life better because of X, Y, and Z, and I think we should all be empathetic to those people and not rub it in their face that they're less fortunate than we are in certain regards, whether it be health or age, or what their retirement funds. And add on the big beautiful bill.
Before he flips out, or you cut out there for a second, I'm okay with shaming a little bit because some of the things that are going to get funded are taking funding away from things like transgender studies for hamsters.
Yeah.
Like all of that bullshit that go away. There is a lot of places, there are a lot of government agencies, specifically out of the DC area, that when Trump came into office, the resume pool was just flooded with people trying to find a job because they realized that what they have been doing for the last little bit of time no longer has a purpose. Like, we don't care if dolphins are gay. It doesn't affect gas prices. So if we're stopping paying for that, we can start to do things like pay for the border. We can things like pay for healthcare for veterans and reform the VA. We could do other things like that. So I'm okay.
And then like the tax money that you're spending on the border crisis, like illegal immigrants getting medical care, getting housing, getting allowances, stealing jobs, whether you know, like that. I mean, that sucks, but that all of that, like once you fix that, then you have more money to put into things like Medicaid or Medicare. I mean, like I said, listen, like I'm not going to pretend like I'm an economist or like I'm the smartest guy to giving you a opinion on this, but I am smart enough to say this, that it's a very easy Google search and they've done a pretty good job. You can type in big, beautiful bill and there gives you lots of options to see, to learn all about it. Wikipedia even has a lot of information on it that isn't as one-sided or biased as it normally is. But here's an overview from binsguide.gpo.gov, how laws are made. The one big beautiful bill specifically regarding Social Security includes provisions for expanded tax deductions for seniors, aiming to eliminate or significantly reduce the amount of Social Security benefits subject to taxation. Does not, however, eliminate taxes on Social Security income entirely, as was a campaign promise. So there's that kind of like good and bad. Like, yes, it addresses and has provisions for tax deductions for seniors, but it doesn't give you tax-free Social Security benefits like we were hoping. You know, again, like a lot of great taxes, like a lot of great deductions and things for bigger families, but no taxes on federal income tax or like, no tax on tips and tax on overtime pay, things like that. So I think it generally is a pretty interesting bill to read, and you just have to go through and read it yourself. And again, I was all about doing that, but I have to go record my audiobook for Pig Latin. A seriously funny true story. I have 2 sessions and a makeup session. The makeup session is because we're going this route where they are putting in sounds and music and drama and theatrics to the audiobook read, which is extremely fun and exciting for all of you. There are some things that might have to be reread, but for the most part, I have 2 sessions left in the audiobook.
Hey, I want to say your promotion video was absolutely fucking fire.
Did you like it?
Oh, you killed it.
Yeah, dude. Thank you.
Jill Billy 007 loved it.
You know what was the most exciting thing about that was that company sent me a script and it was that long. I mean, as long as that video is, minute and 13 seconds or whatever it is. And they sent it to me like maybe the night before the shoot, maybe that afternoon. So I spent a lot of time memorizing it all afternoon, all evening, woke up early. I think I had to leave the house at 8 a.m. to drive an hour and a half. And I actually made my wife drive with me in the 5K so she could help me continue to memorize the script because I was super nervous, right? Yeah. They're investing all this money and time and energy. And I didn't want to show up. So I show up and they had slotted, I don't know, like 6 hours for that shoot. I think I was done in 30 minutes. They couldn't believe it. They were like, they were like, let's do it line by line. So what we'll do is you'll do a line and then we'll take 10 for you to memorize the next paragraph. We'll shoot that and we'll go. And I was like, let me raise my hand really fast. Excuse me. Can I just do it all the way through? And they were like,
what?
Oh, well, I mean, you would have to memorize it and it'll probably, and I was like, no. Like, can I just try it and see how it works for you guys? Like, let me just do it all the way through. And then I did it like all the way through. And like one paragraph, I kind of like flustered towards the end and they just made me reread that paragraph. And then they're like, can you do that again with just like a little bit more theatrics here and here? And I was like, sure. I did it again. They're like, dude, that's perfect. Can we get you to do it like one more time, but on this paragraph, do that? Did all again.
Tansey be dramatic? What?
And then we're out. And then we were done. And they were all like, bro, that was awesome. Like, you memorized that whole thing, and it made it so much easier. And we did this in like literally less than an hour. And they had like blocked out like an entire 6-hour day for it. So
it was awesome.
Thank you. I worked really hard on it.
You would have made a great hostage back in the day. Remember with the Taliban?
Yeah.
You would have made a great one. You would have made a great one.
They are treating me well, and everything is great and beautiful here at the
pre-order
Al-Qaeda Inn and Suites. But yeah, so thank you for the promo. Listen, we're 1 month and 26 days out for the release. Can y'all believe that?
I know. Crazy.
1 month. So I'm expecting after the 4th of July to get a call from my agent to start the marketing, and hopefully I'll know exactly more about where I'm going on this promotional book tour. But the big party is going to be in Cincinnati, Ohio. Country boy headed to the city that he just talked shit about. I'm just kidding. I love to visit the city, and I love Cincinnati. However, it is going to be hard not to shit on your chili, because your Cincinnati chili is fucking terrible. But you know what's great is your Butterbees nuts. Whatever that place is, the burger, one of the best burgers I've ever had. Love some Butterbees. My kids still talk about it this day. At random, Beth and Greg were in town, and they were like, I was like, where should I take Beth and Greg to get, this type of food? And from the back seat, my son was like, take them to Butterbees. And then Augie was like, Butterbees nuts. And I'm like, you fucking like all the way from Cincinnati. So the big party will be in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we are going to make it our biggest party there. I'll have several parties, but my biggest one's going to be in Cincinnati, and I'm going to invite some real bangers to it. And it'll be hosted by and presented by One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. So that's going to be really, really, really fun to do. Stay tuned for all of that. We're going to make it special. I'm going to make it special. And I just have to wait until Simon Schuster gives me my marketing budgets and what I'm allowed to do. And then I can work around those parameters. But so far it's been pretty great, and they've liked everything I've done. How you can help make this party the biggest party ever is pre-order the book. The more pre-orders I have right now, the more Simon Schuster's gets excited about all the more opportunities I get to have. And right now we're killing it. We're the most anticipated book of 2025. It's the first dark comedy with a large police, with a large publishing house book deal. So hopefully that breaks the glass ceiling for other first responders to be able to write books and get a book deal. Plus, something else happened with the book. Still not allowed to talk about it. I'll tell you this though, since we're still hanging out, and it's the 4th of July, I was told that there was a 2-week. They had an exclusive 2-week time frame to make a deal with us on what's going on right now. And Friday was the end of that 2-week deal, and we didn't get a call. And so I sent a text to the Big Cheese, a name that you guys would all probably be familiar with. And I said, hey, we gave these people like 2 weeks. They, it's the end of the 2 weeks. Like, is it just did it just not happen? And he wrote back. He said, listen, if it was a hard no, we would have already known. And in this scenario, the book has to go through many, many hands before they can make an absolute. But the fact that they went all the way into 4th of July weekend and didn't say a single word, and they're sitting on it through 4th of July, means that it's not a hard no. And I was like, well, what does hard no mean? It means it's it would have went through this section of the business, and then they would have said, nah, we can't work with that. Then it would go on to the marketing section of that business, and they would be like, no, those are hard no's. The fact that it's already passed through several hands and they haven't said no going into the 4th of July means it's a good thing. So let's keep the good vibes up. Exactly what the text said. And we're going to hit them back around the 7th or the 8th after, if we don't hear back from them. But the fact that, listen, he said, if they didn't want this, they would not carry this end through 4th of July. They would have want to put an end to it before 4th of July weekend. They would have said, let's get this off of our table. Let's get it out before 4th of July and be done with it. We don't need it on our table. We don't want to come back from 4th of July and have to deal with this. It would have been a very easy thing for them to just say no and be done with it, but they didn't. and they're sitting on it over the holiday weekend. So that is good news. So let's keep the good vibes. Wolfpack, go and pre-order Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story. Head over to our new podcast. Listen, the life is going to get extremely crazy for me and the Wolfpack. The book tour is going to get nuts. If you guys haven't noticed, my social media following's upticked greatly. Guys like Tyler Gray, AJ Buckley, other people drinking, they're all starting to share and like and comment on all of our stuff. And it's because they know what's coming down the pipe. They know, and everything's going to start to move very quickly, which means that this podcast is finally going to get the recognition that it deserves. And I think it's going to grow exponentially. And you guys are all at the bottom floor of that. And that is awesome. OGs, we're bringing in Santana True Crime, Alley in the Archives, along with Jason Kiefer with One More and I'm Out of Here, Beth and Greg from the Bars Open, Beth and Greg, to really try to create the family we've always wanted to create here. All this is going to start happening. Go and follow each of them. Be a part of all of our lives. Be a part of the family. Go to FTS Wolfpack on Facebook. Be part of the group, the Patreon. All that stuff is going to help keep all these people employed. They're going to get a lot of money. Our FTS Underground merch site, if you can bring that up, all of that money goes to John. But I need you guys to go and follow these YouTube channels. The new one is Santana True Crime. Can we bring that up? Santana True Crime, YouTube. Take your time. Here it is right here. How many followers does it have?
They are up to 19.
Okay. I'd love to see that hit 100. We're around 8,000 on Failure to Stop's network on the podcast. Let's get these guys 100 subscribers. It is the best true crime. It is scripted true crime. The YouTube, I like to listen to it because it's scripted. I don't like to watch the YouTube because it's watching somebody read, but the scripted podcast version is incredible. But if you're just one of those psychos that love to watch YouTubes, please go over there and subscribe right now to Santana True Crime. Head over to our merch site, FTS Underground, buy the merch. All that money goes to support John Bates, and let's take all of this to the moon. Support our sponsors and be at the ground level. We're all subbed. Great job. Really appreciate that. Follow all them Alley in the Archives on Instagram and all that stuff. Guys, this is going to be an amazing summer, and I'm telling you, it's all going to change. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. A lot of big things happening, and I'm so thankful for all of you guys that have been here throughout the entire journey. And I want to keep this show going, and I'm going to keep it going. Even if I become bigger than I am now, I want to keep the show going. But the numbers will always dictate that. But I will always have fun with you guys. So even if the numbers stayed small, I'd probably still do this in some fashion or way. But maybe we just get more fans involved on the show, things like that. But we'll have more time, more energy to do things once we have more views and more heads on the shows. So thank you everybody that's joined us in the low chats: Loren, Corn Pop, Nightkin, Koseka, Elijah K, Bosco Autry, Greg LaMontagne, of course, as always. We love all you guys. Tyler S, Last Row. Thank you guys so much for being in the chats all the time for us, and we just thank all of you. And Tyler S, appreciate you so much. Guys, listen, we'll be back after the 4th of July. Enjoy your 4th of July holiday. Follow each one of us on Instagram because we'll be posting stories and wild funs. I'm gonna guzzle glizzies all day on Friday, and I'm gonna take a story on my Instagram, Eric TANSEY Official, and I'm gonna walk you through every hot dog that I eat. I've been dieting extremely hard through factor meals, meal planning, and working out, sometimes twice a day even, to shamelessly be able to eat as many hot dogs as I possibly can on Friday throughout the whole entire day. I'm not going to do like the Joey Chestnut as many as I can. And I was like, I'm going to enjoy hot dogs, different types of hot dogs all day. So if you want to see what kind of glizzies I'm guzzling, follow me on Eric TANSEY Official. You can always follow Jason Kiefer and One More and I'm Out of Here and see what those guys are doing, and Deadleg, what he's doing on the 4th of July. It's going to be great. The over-under right now is 18, according to Greg LaMontagne. That's a lot. That is a lot of hot dogs. It is something to shoot for. Batty says 7. Only time will tell. I don't know. I've never seen how many hot dogs I can. I just know that every 4th of July, even back blogging all the way back to 2013 when I wrote a blog about my 4th of July hot dog eatings. But I like the finer things of hot dogs. So I do like a California dog. I do a Cincinnati dog. I do several different. I do a what I call a Boston dog, a Boston brat. I do like the ones with the a Chicago dog. I do all of a New York dog, a New Jersey dog. I love hot dogs and all the different styles of hot dogs, but I've never I don't know how many I've guzzled in a day. So this year it's all about seeing what it is. Like, I'm not trying to break records or anything. I just want to see, generally curious, how many hot dogs do I eat all day? And why is it so many that I feel the need that I need to diet months in advance so that I can do it? Because it must be a lot. So we'll see how many I guzzle. Follow Eric TANSEY Official, and we'll see. Until then, guys, from One More and I'm Out of Here podcast, Fox News, and Dead Leg Media, G.I. Joe says it the best. Maybe you didn't know about Alligator Alcatraz. Maybe you didn't know about Wess Roley and the firefighter incident, but now you do know knowing is half the battle. See you on the next one, guys. Cheers.